Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 p.m. and we are live online.
It's my work computer.
Thank you. Good evening, and I'll call to order our City Council meeting for today, December 1st, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which flag here or in the back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with roll call. I see we have Jeff, and we have Molly, and Paloma, and myself, and online we have the mayor, Lee. Are you with us?
Yep.
And Amber?
I am here.
All right. George Mansfield is excused, and our attorney, Nick Ward-Willis, is also remote. Nick, are you with us? Good evening. All right, our first item on the agenda is going to be a community workshop about the Fishkill Creek Watershed Alliance presentation by Sergey Krasakov.
Good evening, everyone. Ben, can you pull up the first slide, please? All right, there we go. So, good evening, everyone. Sergey Krasikov, Beacon resident, and one of the co-founders and the president of the Fishkill Creek Watershed Alliance. We are a regional volunteer group and recently a registered nonprofit that works to protect, preserve, and restore Fishkill Creek watershed. One of the big focuses is to not only to preserve what's there, but also to expand access and make it these resources more available to the residents of the Fishkill Creek watershed and the guests. So I wanted to do this presentation to talk about the work that we have done. I will be joining the council in January, and I felt like this would be the proper time to do to be on this side of the podium. All right, second slide, please. I do want to start with acknowledging that the Fishkill Creek watershed includes traditional lands of indigenous people, including the Munsee, Lenape, Wappinger, and others who stewarded these lands for thousands of years. We try to carry that respect for the nature and living in peace with it. Thank you. Next slide. So first, I just wanted to get everybody on the same page what watershed is. I like to describe it as a bowl. So all the rain that falls within the boundaries of the bowl and that drains down through little creeks and streams into larger creeks and then eventually rivers and the ocean or sea, that's a watershed. And then the ridge is kind of like your boundary. On the other side, it goes to Wappinger Creek. On this side of the ridge, it goes to Fishkill Creek. So that's create the watershed. So all the water from Union Vale and further that comes down comes to us. One question that I get asked a lot is the relationship of the watershed boundaries and the groundwater, and relationship is complicated. While recharge of the aquifers and the underground, water resources does happen everywhere in the watershed. The groundwater kind of doesn't know boundaries of the watersheds and can go under the ridges, and so pollution in our watershed can impact groundwater in other watersheds, and vice versa. We might be dealing with PFAS that enter our groundwater by way of Wappinger Creek watershed, for example. All right, next one. So this is the Fishkill Creek watershed. It spans 14 municipalities and 2 counties, Phillipstown and Kent, and part of Putnam Valley are part of it by the way of Clove Creek that goes north before it enters Fishkill Creek. Fairly large watershed, almost 200 square miles, over 300 miles of tributaries within watershed. Still a lot of forest cover, almost 50%, so every year it diminishes. Next one. So this is our Fishkill Creek, which is a defining feature of the watershed. It runs for about 33.5 miles, out of which only 3 are in Beacon. So the rest is kind of like above us. And also not all of Beacon actually is in the watershed. Part of it directly drains straight into Hudson River. Fishkill Creek went through a number of names. You can see here it was called Trout Stream, Humble Little Stream, Little Water that flows into Big Water, and Fishkill is Fish Creek, which right now is Fishkill Creek, if you fully translate from Dutch. All right. In the photos you see Beacon with the snow. The middle photo is a park in Unionvale. And on the right is a park in Hopeful Junction. Next one, please. It's a wonderful resource with a lot of opportunities for people for recreation and for connecting with nature. There is fishing. There is quite a few parks altogether. I think over 12 parks near the main stem of Fishkill Creek and on some of the larger tributaries. More probably will come with the rail trail. There are opportunities for pocket parks that we have started to identify. There is also kayaking. There is 3 sections that you can kayak from Dennings Point to Taronda Bridge, and then between Brickenhof to Van Pelt Park, or in reverse, and also Hopeful Recreation in Hopeful Junction to Brickenhof. There is a dam in Brickenhof that kind of breaks the flow. It's not always possible. There are oftentimes a lot of trees, and also during droughts, the water levels drop too low, especially in the upper watershed, to kayak, but there are opportunities. Next one. But not everything is so rosy. There are definitely a lot of stresses, and one of the main stresses that we are dealing with is non-point source pollution. So this is pollution that doesn't come from a particular pipe. So this is stuff that comes from lawns, from car washes, from construction sites, from improper stormwater management when sediment gets transported. Dams, there are a lot of dams on the creek. They negatively affect the health of the creek and the temperature, making it too warm for a lot of fishes to survive. There is encouragement of development on riparian buffers in wetlands, especially in the upper watershed. There are some big wetland battles going on in East Fishkill, for example. There is still some legacy pollution, stuff that's mostly behind dams that sometimes gets suspended by heavy storms. There are still companies that get permits to release certain amount of pollution, like the Global Foundries, for example, former IBM. There is obviously garbage from just us leaving stuff behind, and there is also increasing amount of emerging pollutants like PFAS from non-stick cookware, from firefighter foam, and there's also quite a lot of microplastics in the creek, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. Next one. So how does the state manage the creeks and tributaries? And I was asked the question, why do we need Fishkill Creek Watershed Alliance? Like, why is not the state doing it? So the way the state is approaching the small creeks, especially in this area, which are part of Hudson River Estuary Program that was established in 1987 by New York State Assembly and Senate. So this area kind of covers Federal Log Dam in Troy down to Verrazano Bridge, Verrazano Narrows, and includes about 10 counties. So all the tributaries within that area are part of the tributary Hudson River Estuary Program. And DEC has a separate branch that just deals with the health of Hudson River there. but they do not have ability to be on the ground and manage smaller tributaries, and they rely on the work of watershed groups to kind of help work together to protect Hudson River. Next page, please. DC Estuary Agenda recognizes that fact, and many tributaries that do have active watershed groups do tend to have better water quality and better protections. DC supports groups like ours through various grants, through technical support, to develop capacity, to provide resources and networks. They also participate and work together on Trees for Trips program, for example. There is a dam removal program where they would work with local watershed groups to identify dams that do not serve the purpose and would benefit a lot to the local natural resources if that dam were to be removed. And there are many different types of watershed groups. There are community-led groups, Wallkill, for example, Quasaic. There are intermunicipal councils where the elected officials or the administrative staff participate, like Hudson 7, for example. They do draw the water from Hudson River, so they are very interested in keeping Hudson River healthy. Wappinger Creek had intermunicipal council, but it didn't survive for very long. As you go in through the political cycles, and if those communities don't rely on the creek for water, the interest can fade. There are coalitions. There are Ulster County Planning Department spearheads Sopus Creek watershed group. Municipally led is, for example, Peekskill Hollowbrook. They take water from Peekskill Hollowbrook, so the city is really interested in protecting it and restoring to health. So there is actually a director of water resources that is in charge of the watershed groups that includes volunteers as well as city staff. There is a lot of thinking that we are doing together with DEC and Department of Health how to streamline operations of watershed groups and make our work more effective to kind of services a grand vision of healthy Hudson River. And one of the things we're looking at is increasing the role of counties' planning departments. Ulster County, for example, just hired a coordinator to work with watershed groups and provide a lot of bridging of resources, applying for grants, working with municipalities. We started similar conversation with the Dutchess County Department of Planning. And I also want to acknowledge Hudson River Watershed Alliance, which is a regional non-profit that works across the estuary and helps groups like us and kind of provides a lot of expertise, does a lot of grant application on behalf of smaller groups, and has been instrumental in our group. As far as Fishkill Creek goes, there used to be a group in early 2000s. They produced very good report on natural resource management. It's available on our website. They worked for about 5-10 years, and I know George, for example, used to go to their meetings. Probably some others did as well. They ran out of energy and kind of stopped in 2004-05, and for 20 years there was a gap of any organized attention to the Fishkill Creek watershed. Next one, please. So our group started over COVID as a collaboration between myself and the chair of East Fishkill Conservation Advisory Committee. We met at one of the round tables that Dutchess Department of Planning organizes, and with the help of Hudson River Watershed Alliance and Beacon Institute, we applied for the grant, brought about 40 people from across the watershed for a 4-day training, and then out of that, a core of the group emerged. We eventually incorporated, and as the nonprofit, and fully got our status spring of this year. And I was given an award for the organizing work, the Wavemaker Award from Hudson River Watershed Alliance. Next one, please. So our scope is fairly broad. It breaks into 4 major categories: study the watershed, form partnerships, engage community, and build the organization to make it more resilient and be able to kind of work for many, many years. Watershed work does take years, sometimes decades. So we're doing a watershed characterization project with the Beacon Institute, with the support of DEC grant and some private grants. We do water quality sampling, and I'll talk about this a little more. We invested heavily into building institutional cooperation and building relationship with a lot of regional groups like Riverkeeper, Care Institute, Scenic Hudson, other land trusts. We also have pursued inland waterway designation of Fishkill Creek, and the communities that which passed the Senate and the State Senate and Assembly and awaiting signature by the governor. After signing, after this goes into effect, communities along, municipalities along the Fishkill Creek will get access to local waterfront revitalization program and environmental protection fund grants, and these grants can be used for conserving farmland and restoring historic sites, buying land to preserve it, to control invasive species, upgrading municipal sewage treatment plants, creating public parks. So it's kind of like unlocks a lot of funding for the municipalities. So this was a long push for us, but it happened. We also do a lot of community outreach and education. We tabled at a couple dozen events over the last couple of years. We do educational walks, distribute newsletter. Our sampling events are actually little education campaigns when we talk to people about the creek, the health of the creek. We participated in some Trees for Trips planting at Angela Court in Beacon, New York, helped to plant, and then brought some muscle to help plant a lot of trees and shrubs. And we also put a lot of effort into building our organization. We managed to get into strategic work plan development and capacity building, tech assistance program, supported by the Estuary program at DEC, and we got into 5-year pro bono legal assistance relationship with the pro bono partnerships that will help us to kind of move more smoothly as time goes by. All right, next one. So this is just some photographs from the last year. It's a planting, it's culvert assessment that we have done with Beacon Institute. Participated in Earth Day planting at the site of hopefully a future environmental passive park. The cleanups, water sampling. So that's how volunteering on a creek looks like. Next one. So I wanted to talk a little bit about water quality because that's something that a lot of people are very interested in, and the question we hear the most is, how's the water? Is it bad? We all remember the stories of the creek being purple and green and yellow, depending on colors of whatever textile mills we're doing. So we basically have 3 programs going on. There is a community sampling program that's run by our organization. We have 7 sites between Unionville to Madame Brett. We do monthly sample collection, and we sample for fecal indicator bacteria, nutrients, and Bard College processes that data, and then Vassar processes heavy metals and chemicals. Some of the key findings, very strong correlation between fecal matter in the water and the rains, primarily surface as we understand so far. So whatever dogs, ducks, deer, and birds, so that's what ends up in the water. Metals, surprisingly, most of what we have sampled for is within drinking water standards. There is no swimming standards for metals, so we kind of used drinking as some sort of a benchmark, which was a very surprising finding, and they don't seem to depend too much on the rain. And we all heard about harmful algae blooms this summer. We did have some blooms, but as far as we understand, they are not harmful algae, just regular, which is still not very good, but not as bad. If you come in contact with it, it's not gonna mess up. We have also enrolled Fishkill Creek Watershed into DEC monitoring unassessed stream segments, which is a program that DEC does, and this is regulatory level sampling. So they are doing the upper and middle section. They actually just finished in October this 2-year program. They monitored or collected and analyzed water samples for, I think, around 36 different parameters. And then after that data gets processed, they actually can reclassify the status of the water body from, suitable for recreation and primary contact or not suitable. And this information will be then updated on the DEC environmental resource mapper. So when you go to DEC website, there is a map where you can look up at different water standard, water quality data. Fishkill Creek didn't have any sampling done systematically pretty much ever. There was occasional sampling done at various locations by various entities, but a lot of, if you go there now, for Beacon section very often says suspected pollutants. It's not actually being monitored systematically. And Beacon Institute did a microplastic study in Fishkill Creek. They're going to repeat it again, but they worked with K-12 students, analyzed samples at 3 different sites, and then did analysis of the samples that they collected, what kind of plastics were they very likely coming from. There is quite a lot, and the report is available on our website, fishkillwatershed.org. They also, mitigation is hard, but they are stating the need for, the report states the need for working collectively towards finding solutions to mitigate the amount of microplastic in our water, because it is contaminating fish, probably getting down into the groundwater. All right, next one. So our the most acute danger in primary contact is fecal matter. That's what can transmit disease, and that's what kind of the biggest concern in any water body where you play, where you kayak. And just as a disclaimer, our data is for research and informational purposes only. It cannot be used to make decisions whether it's safe to swim or not. There is also not a single official swimming area anywhere in Fishkill Creek watershed. There are unofficial ones, but we cannot talk about those. And if there were any swimming areas, they will be, they would have very stringent water sampling requirements, and they will be overseen by the Dutchess County Department of Health. And there are also other threats in the water, like trees, glass, metal. But we test for E. coli and Enterococci. These 2 bacteria, they are not dangerous in themselves, but they are representative of potential fecal matter in the water. Next one. We're also pulling up the data from National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration from 3 different weather stations in Beacon, and Hopeful Junction, and Millbrook. That kind of covers most of the watershed. We take the data for a week preceding sampling, and then so we can see how our sample sites respond to the water. FK1 is Madame Brett, FK7 is Unionvale, so kind of covering most of the Fishkill Creek. And we're also testing against 2 different standards. One is New York State Department of Health standard for swimming water, like if you do like one-time sampling, and one is from EPA. It's kind of like the maximum exposure that beyond which you're very likely to develop some sort of issues. So we kind of use those 2 numbers that single occurrence is higher. So you can see that under kind of like not a very strong rain conditions, most of the sites test within those limits. All right. We did have, when we started, we wanted to see if there is any stress to the creek from septic systems. A lot of communities in the upper watershed, Unionvale, Millbrook, Pleasant Valley, they mostly or exclusively have septic systems which are known to release untreated sewage into the creeks under heavy rain conditions. We only had one really heavy rain situation in May when we sampled, and we didn't see a spike, which probably shows that the septic systems and wastewater treatment plants, which start in Hopeful Junction, then Fishkill, town of Fishkill, that they also have handled those rains pretty well without releasing too much. Our worst sampling was, or the dirtiest water was after a very dry week. Actually 2 dry weeks in June, and then there was just a little bit of rain, very little bit, right before we sampled, and all these numbers were like 100 times over the limit, so which again shows surface. It's kind of first flush event, all the dog poop, everything just was accumulated, gets washed off, so that's probably like indicates the need for people to be more careful with their dogs, something we can control, we obviously cannot control Canadian geese and deer population. Next one. All right, so a little bit about next year. We are working with Riverkeeper to start to have them process our water samples. There's some logistical differences in that operation, but it might be that they will take Fishkill Creek into their tributary monitoring program. We will still have our volunteers collect samples, but they will do the processing. And we also looking into to start source tracking. There are a couple areas where we suspect some farming operations, hunting clubs that might create a lot of load of fecal matter in the creek, potentially in violation of best practices. So we want to make our water quality reports available on a regular basis. We have also applied for a grant to bring that high-level DEC sampling into the lower part of the Fishkill Creek. We will do it ourselves, but using the state-certified labs, and so this way it will become, if we get this grant, will be the first fully assessed creek in Hudson River watershed. And we're partnering with Mid-Hudson chapter of Adirondack Mountain Club to restart clearing the creek for paddling. They used to have an active program where once a year they would go and cut little passages just so the kayaks can get through. During COVID, they lost a lot of volunteers, so we're starting to revive that partnership. We plan to do a joint fundraising event with Hudson River Watershed Alliance, as well as a public project with Quassaic Creek Watershed Alliance. Quassaic Creek is one in Newburgh. They enter Fishkill Creek pretty much opposite from each other. We are influencing the quality of the creek, of the Hudson River, by the waters that we bring in, and so we've been kind of in communication over the last couple of years and developing a joint project. We will continue our watershed characterization project, hopefully finish next year, and also continue working on strengthening the organization. We did apply for a grant to create a part-time paid coordinator position. That's something that has shown to be very helpful for the watershed groups to be able to work sustainably over many, many years, is to have somebody on a part-time salary to do a lot of the grunt work. All right, next one. So that's about it. So it's a beautiful map done by Russ Maxwell, Fishkill resident. Some of you might have seen it during events. I have a big printout of it and bring with me. Volunteers always needed, fishkillcreekwatershed.org. And if you have any questions, I'll happily answer.
Thank you. That was some great information, and thank you to you and the group for all that you do to help keep our creek cleaner. Unfortunately, my father was one who worked at the dye factory, so he probably dumped some of the colorful liquids into the water there many eons ago. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious generally about what role you think the city could be playing in supporting this work, or just thinking about, the climate goals that we have and anything that should be considered for 2026 and beyond.
I think something that is in the city's control and arguably interest is to expand access to the creek along the Greenway Trail and expanding the Greenway Trail. There are a couple properties that potentially not developable or can go through some sort of a rethinking, something we heard at the presentation last week with the Fishkill Avenue Concept Committee about Groverville properties and extending the park area. So I think that can be very, very helpful. Invasive mitigation. There are several areas with a rampant spread of Japanese knotweed. So there is a community-led group that's starting to take shape in Beacon that seeks to address knotweed infestation. So supporting that, I think, can be helpful in preserving. Because if you lose control, it can take over the shores for a good chunk of time.
Thank you.
What was the the intent of the 501c3 designation? Was it just to receive grants, or were there other intents or other strategies that you have in front of you that you want to pursue with that designation?
One was to be able to apply for grants, kind of as a way for the grants that we want to apply. We have partnered with Beacon Institute, and it was great, but they have their own objectives, and we seek to continue that partnership, but we felt this would give us more flexibility. Some in the group felt like this would make us be taken more seriously if we do have that status. I think grants and status, probably, yeah.
Thanks. Paloma, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was curious I think Molly asked the most important question, but I'm also curious how this work potentially maps against our open space inventory or our natural resource mapping, and if there's any sort of learnings or ways that this work can inform each other, if there are particular areas of the creek that we should be paying more attention to, or ways that we should be utilizing our open space inventory in conjunction with this work.
A lot of parcels or properties that we're thinking of adding to the open space inventory are along the creek, because one of the big motivators for the open space protection is to create continuous wildlife corridors, so that animals can move along long distances without having interruptions, fences, houses, lights that disrupts kind of the life. So acknowledging that some areas are in a comprehensive plan and are slated to be developed, but working on protecting riparian buffers, having restoration of riparian buffers as part of the development process, respecting the setbacks, looking into potentially increasing our MEGA 25 yard requirement to be off from the top of the bank. So I think that's kind of one big concern. Invasives, again, along the some of the tributaries to Fishkill Creek, for example, and stormwater, which are stormwater management, which both are acknowledged in our natural resource inventory as one of the threats to the water resources.
It was great to hear that there is progress on the inland waterway designation. I remember when I took a training with you all a few years ago, that was indicated as a potential game changer in terms of what resources that might unlock. Is there anything in particular that might come out of that you're eyeing? Again, with the idea of what role the city could play.
So I think there are some puzzles on the discussion for preservation. So potentially those funds can be utilized to help pay for the land acquisition. So that's one way. Another is I think it can support in planning work. These grants do cover that. Invasives control, again, you can engage DEC to create invasive management plan and have specialists and resources available to address that. I think there is potentially a larger application slightly higher up the watershed, up the Fishkill Creek. There are more land along the creek that is undeveloped. We are, if you were to look back at that watershed map, we are the most developed section of the watershed, and there is not that much left. So I think regionally, it can have a lot of positive effects.
Lee or Amber, do you have any comments?
They were all addressed, thank you.
All right.
I had one more. This is 101. I hadn't realized that all of Beacon was not in this watershed for Fishkill Creek. Is it because once you get close to the Hudson River, that's just that water flows a different way, or is it actually a different watershed that it kind of is next to? I'm just not aware of that one.
There is basically a ridge that I believe it goes kind of like up above the high school, and then kind of like cuts across Main Street. I think like from South Avenue down, that's all called direct drainage, where the water just goes straight into Hudson River.
Okay. So it's about the proximity to the Hudson is one of the reasons why it's not
But it's
considered.
It's also, like, imagine a ridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like water goes this way or water goes that way,
Okay.
and we have that geographical feature in the city where it starts to slope down
I see.
towards the creek, towards the river. Yeah.
Molly, where you live, I think drains into the Hudson. Think about whether that's downhill from your house to the creek or downhill from your house to the Hudson.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we don't think of that as a watershed the same way we do with watersheds that center around creeks, it sounds like.
Well, I think it's still a watershed, it's just the Hudson's watershed instead
Okay,
of
so
the
it's the
Fishkill
Hudson
Creek
watershed. Okay.
You need to look at his diagram.
I was looking at it, and it didn't seem to, I didn't see it name. I was curious if that was a different watershed, and it sounds like it's the Hudson River is its own watershed that probably extends further up and down the Hudson, so.
But some of that water can commingle underneath.
Yeah.
Just looking at that map, I was just reminded of the fact that, while Beacon, you pointed out that municipalities who source their drinking water processed directly from the watershed, whether that's from the Hudson River or from Fishkill Creek, tend to have more of a stake in sort of the health of that watershed. Obviously, Beacon doesn't apply to that, I guess depending on how you define our groundwater that we get from our wells. But looking at this map, Beacon is at the end of this massive watershed. And so anything that happens in any of these municipalities that are sort of up creek within this alliance affects Beacon. And the water that comes down Fishkill Creek to us. So I just want to appreciate the fact that you've built this alliance, it is sort of self-serving in that Beacon reaps some of the main benefits since we are down creek, but also, appreciate the folks who are part of the alliance in these other municipalities, since, water doesn't actually care about any of the borders we
Yeah.
put up.
And being at the bottom of the watershed, we are dealing with the most, with potential flood risks. And so all the water that drains down from the whole watershed eventually just goes down through Fishkill Creek through our city, and you could see it going up 10, 12 feet during heavy rains, undermining our existing dams and causing erosion and knocking down trees, bringing garbage and pollution from upstream to us. So kind of we are on the receiving end of a lot of mismanagement or improper management up above from us.
And the one thing, talking about the dams, there's 7 dams, how many dams? There's probably more than that.
There is, in the main stem, I believe there is 12.
12. Is there any concerns that you found, looking at the conditions of the dams, or, just the damage that they do to the Fishkill Creek?
Just, we don't do assessment. DEC does the assessment, and several of the dams in Beacon, or a couple of the dams in Beacon, are considered to be, somewhat compromised or not in the healthiest state. Many of them are 150-year-old, even older. When they were built, many had a expected lifespan of about 75 years, so many of them are way over that. And so one of the biggest threats is uncontrollable collapse of the dam, because then first you have a wall of water. So if you were to have houses downstream, even 20 feet up the hill from the creek, they might get washed out. Another big concern is all the pollutants from the industrial time that are behind the dams, and that has been studied by Riverkeeper. They took core samples behind the Madame Brett, the Saco Falls Dam, Tyronda Dam. That's the one at the very tip of the Madame Brett Park, and there is mercury and lead and arsenic and everything. So if the dam breaks controllably, then all those pollutants wash out and enter Hudson River. So that's obviously liability to the owners, but also liability to our natural resources. So when the dams are removed responsibly, you do core sampling, you analyze what's behind, you divert the water, you scoop out everything that needs to be scooped out. It goes to New York State toxic disposal sites that hopefully are, well regulated and well maintained, and after that the dam is taken down. The actual takedown of a dam is very quick, just a couple days. The rest takes years and years and years. And Riverkeeper is working on some of the dams in Beacon. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. All good? Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
very
so much. It was great
Thank you.
information again. All right. Now we are for our first public comment, and we do have a public hearing tonight, so during this public comment, you can speak up to 3 minutes, and as long as it does not pertain to the transit station district that we will be discussing in the public hearing. We don't have anyone on our list for public comments, so those who'd like to speak can come forward.
This is a question, not a comment. Yvonne Carruthers, Ward 4, Beacon Bicycle Coalition. In the budget process, there was money that was set aside, and it was called the initiative funds. I don't remember the exact language, but I know there was a vague understanding of what that money would be used for, and I'm just asking, when do we find out? Because we, of course, are very eager to have some of that set aside so we can get a matching grant and do the bike master plan so that that can be incorporated into the 2027 master plan, comprehensive plan. And I know that in the final report of the FACC, that was also that recommendation. So we need to get those funds, we need to get it firmed up. And so my question is, when do we find out? Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa Kraft. With so much to be thankful for this holiday season, I want to wish everyone well. Let's keep everyone well. Today, we have to take our public safety into our own hands with lack of proper safety signage on our main street. In many areas with large trucks parked on corners blocking crosswalks, people are jutting out into traffic. And there's still only one sign on one side of the street at a major and congested section of the city. At Main and Tyranda, we have traffic coming at you from 4 different directions, lacking proper signage and cars speeding in all directions, and cars rolling through the 2 stop signs. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Even though I know to never cross without looking in all directions, it's still cringeworthy with cars whipping around the blind bend coming from the dummy light. Today's tourists are literally standing in the middle of the street taking selfies. It's just a matter of time. Let's be on the lookout. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Katie Helmuth, Ward 1. My comment tonight regards the project of 248 Tyranda and the designation of the building to become residential units. I wanted to thank the developer for his patience as changes to zoning keep happening, which prevent him from building in this market and not make money. I want to thank the council for adapting the City of Beacon zoning to go back to residential after listening to the developer say that commercial is very difficult to fill and is not filling. I want to note to the council that despite business concepts we may think works inside of a building, I think it counterproductive to impose a type of business one wishes to see in a building such as a proposed child care center at 248 Tyranda when the owner has said that there are few children around that area because of the nature of the unit sizes attracting 1 and 2 people living in them. Much like Visions were impressed upon the Healy property when they wanted to build the Dunkin' Donuts with the drive-through, but some on council thought a movie theater would be a better idea. However, the market would most likely not bear a movie theater, and developers have the right to develop a business model on their property that they have studied and know would be successful. Not to say that more childcare is not needed in Beacon, it is, as is income to be able to pay for such childcare. Regarding the residential units and the math that was being discussed earlier, I'd like to value the developer's offering of the dog park. I think that's a nice idea. While this might not math, I request that 3 and 4 bedroom units be considered. I don't know if multiple 1 and 2 bedroom units net the City of Beacon more tax revenue, but the lack of 3 and 4 bedroom units in this city does not grow the city. Once people have babies in there, they have few options to move out into larger apartments or houses. Many people now are stuck with 4 people living in 2-unit apartments, parents and 2 children sharing 2 bedrooms at minimum. I don't know if this is possible, but can the city mandate that apartment complexes allow for co-signers to be on rental units? For those paying full price, having a co-signer is at times necessary for them to even qualify. Regarding below market rate designation, I request that no designation to a type of person or income based on their income or job class be made. This feels like a segregation of people, and I don't think it is necessary. I request that any person be qualified for these below market rate apartments, not just teachers or civil service employees. The people who are moving out of Beacon are restaurant workers, shop workers, photographers, journalists, small business owners. And it's well to say, well, the photographer should apply for the artist apartments. It's really just not fair to all of the people trying to live here that someone can prove they are an artist because they are a photographer.
15 seconds.
Or design websites. We all need to live here with the advantage of the below market rate units available. Also, the holiday lights on the firehouse and on this building look very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to speak? You do have, if you haven't spoken, you do have opportunity at the end of our meeting. All right, now on to our public hearing, which I have to take a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing on the new transit station district.
Second?
Okay, that is Molly and Paloma. Okay. This is public hearing for proposed local law concerning the transit station district, and Nick, you will let us know more.
Thank you, Pam. Yes, so in tonight's agenda packet is a draft of the text changes to the local law, as well as changes to the schedule of use regulations and schedule of dimensional regulations. This is to amend the zoning code to rename the waterfront development zone to the transit station, which is a new name based upon this council's review of planning board comments. The local law was referred to the county, which indicated it was a matter of local concern, and reviewed at 2 meetings in October, November by the planning board, who issued a comprehensive review memorandum that was reviewed by the council at the last workshop. And as a result of those comments, the city council made some changes to the local law that I'll go through in a moment. Basically, the local law is changing the name of a waterfront development district to the transit station district. It's eliminating some redundancies in the zoning code by taking it out of the text and referring to the schedule of uses and schedule of regulations. It's also eliminating redundant site plan requirement provisions and referring everyone back to the site plan code. It's codifying the procedures for modification of all site plans regardless of the zoning district. It's revising development standards to conform with the purpose of the transit district. And some other changes, including decreasing the minimum lot size from 5 to 3 acres and rezoning all waterfront park parcels that are east of the Metro North train tracks to the transit district, and rezoning a small portion of the parcel west of the train tracks from the WD district to the WP district. And only two new uses are proposed within the transit district: an artist studio art gallery exhibit space and home occupation or artist studios. As to the law itself, if you take a look at it, the changes that we have made as a result of the council's review of comments from the city's planning board are highlighted in yellow. As I said before, changing it to transit, noting that on page 2 in subsection B, the initial application for any proposed development shall also include a discussion of the consideration of commercial uses on the ground floor. While commercial use is not required, the city encourages appropriately sized supportive uses in this district when feasible. And the council removed the mandatory requirement of having a commercial use, but recognizing that it's something that may be appropriate for certain uses in here, so even though it's not required, projects should explain how it was examined and whether commercial is being provided or not provided. So that way, at least the planning board is discussing it and the applicant is explaining their thought process as to commercial being provided or not provided. Additionally, changes made on page 8 and 9 deal with materials and information to be provided to the planning board during its review, such as a written description and illustrated graphics of a proposed project, explaining how the proposal meets the purpose of the district and the LWRP, three-dimensional renderings or visualizations that incorporate topography and the surrounding built and natural context, and a massing study as well, and then some other changes, as you can see, highlighted in yellow. I'm going to draw 2 others to your attention. On page 15, site plan submissions shall include analysis of ingress and egress conditions, internal vehicular circulation, including parking areas, and pedestrian and bicycle circulations, particularly in relation to existing Metro North parking and access constraints. Such analysis shall be of sufficient detail to demonstrate safe, efficient, and coordinated multi-module circulation throughout the site. And a lot of these changes are to really put up front the concerns that the council has expressed and the planning board has expressed, so that a submission addresses them at the beginning of a process rather than having to be drawn out through the review process. This makes for a more complete application and also hopefully results in less time before the planning board and less review from staff and the planning board members on issues that we know need to be addressed. On subsection 10 on page 15, there's language added regarding the providing of a greenway trail, and sets forth that the public access must be provided, and then states that it should, to the extent, and it's really to the extent practical, it should be located on the adjacent to the train tracks. And there's language there. And then the last change is just some modification on page 19 that expanded the area that is being rezoned from WP to the new TS district. And that's the overview of a local law that is subject of tonight's public hearing.
Thank you, Nick. All right, we will have comments, and we have one person who's signed up, Thomas Wright.
Good evening, Thomas Wright, 24 Grove Street, Chair of the Beacon Greenway Committee. Thank you for your service to our community. On behalf of the Beacon Greenway Committee, I would like to comment on the proposed revisions to the zoning for the Transit Station District. We are pleased to see that the Beacon Hudson River Trail has been incorporated into the zoning language, specifically as stated in paragraph 10, starting on page 15. The committee urges the council to vote to adopt this language into the proposed zoning law. As referenced in the revised text, the zoning would ensure the public access for a trail through the parcels of the zone, which is absolutely a top priority given the recent progress with transit-oriented development at the north parcel of the district. We are also happy to see that the revisions go further than merely establishing public access to stipulate the alignment of the trail on the west side of the parcel closer to the river, adjacent to the tracks, as the city attorney said. This location for the trail is preferable to that which was proposed by the Beacon Hudson River Trail's schematic design documents. I wanted to provide some context on this. The east side of the parcel was chosen for the schematic design based on extensive conversations with MTA at the time of the planning, who was concerned about the impacts to parking and operations if the trail were to be placed on the west side of the parking and service yard. This was, of course, long before the TOD reemerged and dramatically changed the use of this north parcel. The committee respectfully requests the following minor additions to the zoning language. First, please include the planning document by name. As written, the zoning refers to, quote, the city's trail planning documents, unquote. We feel that it should reference actual documents, including but not limited to Beacon Hudson River Trail Design Report dated October of 2020. This is the document linked on the Greenway Committee's homepage and the City of Beacon website. Also, the zoning language mentions that the trail connects to the town of Fishkill, which is a very important point. Equally important is the link to the Beacon-Newburgh Bridge that the trail will provide, and which was described in detail in the schematic design report. Combined with the link to Fishkill, the connection to the bridge provides a vital non-vehicular mobility regional connection by leveraging the existing bike and pedestrian pathway over the Hudson River and linkages to adjacent communities. We respectfully request the reference to the bridge connection. Lastly, we feel that it would be worthwhile to illustrate the connectivity benefits of these linkages by referencing the Fishkill Creek Trail, the Fjord Trail, and the future rail trail by name.
15 seconds.
The Beacon Hudson River Trail is essentially the first and last mile of all of those trails. Again, thank you for your careful review of the zoning language for the Transit Station District and for including the Beacon Hudson River Trail in this language. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a comment on the public hearing?
Teresa Kraft. As a concerned Beacon resident, I request that you put this proposed local law change back on the burner until the current comprehensive plan is rewritten and sealed, and the new council team rolling in January. Let's get all the members of the council present in person at the table. Remote attendance is not cutting it anymore. We already know that the current plan is outdated and it does not give the people what they want. I can point out many loopholes and weaknesses in this draft, but I'll start with 2 points. One stated on page 2. to encourage compact mixed-use pedestrian-oriented development near transit facilities that supports increased mobility, housing choice, and economic vitality while balancing automobile dependencies. While balancing automobile dependence, what kind of crock is that? Everyone of driving age will eventually own a car, an electric scooter, or a bicycle. And many are driving impaired in today's environment of legalized cannabis, vapes, and all of that, and you should be proud of the law that you helped pass. Coming up from the train station is already treacherous at times. Bringing 256 families potentially into the mix is frightening. We can expect a major jump in the number of delivery trucks for everyday packages and extra-large delivery trucks supplying goods for those commercial spaces you want. It's a huge traffic concern. And point two, our local and national hero of the environment would be thrilled to have more access for the people to the river, but not with this unsightly plight of a plan with the MTA that you're proposing and encouraging and pushing. Please don't do it.
Anyone else?
Want to ask anyone online?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. I forgot about
No,
it during the regular
none online.
comments. Yeah. Nobody online? Thank you, Ben. And I apologize, I forgot to ask that before. Hopefully it was nobody for regular comments either.
There was not.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Thank you. Make me feel better. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion to close the public hearing?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you, Kevin. I rescind my motion then.
Kevin Burnham, speaking on behalf of myself as a resident of Beacon, 61 Tyranda Avenue. I just had a question about the format of this. There's a section, it's now JG, that talks about screening. Parking deck should be screened from public view to maximum extent practicable. And it's unclear whether this it isn't highlighted. Was that removed and put back in, or is it removed? The blue highlighted section? It's on page 12. I thought that had been removed. No, that's what I was looking for.
So the blue is language that is being added to the zoning ordinance, so that is new language proposed to be adopted.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, because I was just looking at the highlighted stuff, and that, just a clarification. Thank you for all of your close consideration of this.
Thank you.
I will now put back on the table.
I do recall the mayor talking about the details around the trail, that there was...
I think the order of operations is we have to consider the public hearing first, and then we do have it on our agenda to discuss.
Second.
Sorry, motion to close. Second.
So we have a motion to close the public hearing by Molly and seconded by Amber. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that's...
And now we can move on to discussion.
Yes, now we can move on.
I think we have reports first.
Yeah, because we're going to be discussing this later as a council, as part of the agenda, so we could save it and just do reports. Jeff, would you like to start reports?
Yeah, I'll just share that I had a couple of occasions to call in after hours to talk about some issues that were happening in the city, and just was routed both times to the police station, just confirming for folks to know that is an appropriate time to contact the police station to raise issues. It was both a water department issue and a building department issue. And in the latter case, was happy with the response to that. So just a kind of a notice to the public that is a process that is the route to go for getting issues addressed. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Molly?
Yeah, as one of our commenters said, I appreciate the holiday lights on the new firehouse. Driving by, they're quite lovely, along with the decorations on Main Street. And speaking of holiday celebrations, also appreciated the tree lighting ceremony at Memorial this past weekend on Saturday, and all those who took part and made it happen, as you've been making it happen for several years now. It was a great event. I will be having my last office hours as a city council member on Friday, December 12th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at Bank Square Coffee House. And another reminder that for those who are interested in seeing the new city council members sworn in, there will be a ceremony open to the public on Sunday, January 4th at the VFW Memorial Building on Main Street at 3 p.m. And I don't know if I pass it to you, Pam, or over to Paloma. Let's decide.
Put it over to Paloma.
Sure. I'm quick. I'll just say that my office hours, the last of the year, will be Sunday, December 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Trax Coffee House at 2 East Main Street. That will be the day before the last regular council meeting of the year, so let me know what I need to know, please.
Thank you. And before I go online, I'll just give my quick report of just, thanking the Christmas tree celebration of lighting the Christmas tree on Saturday. It was a lovely event. Cold, because it is the end of November, December now, but it was lovely, and the tree looks beautiful. I will turn it over to Amber.
Thanks, Pam. I imagine Chris or the mayor might remind people about our snow ordinances, but there was a Swift alert that went out today. All right, thank you, Chris. So everybody stay safe tomorrow. Kiddos, I hope you get a snow day and enjoy some sledding. And I did want to mention that there's some really great stuff going on at the Howland Library next week. On Tuesday, November 9th, there is an energy saving workshop. Registration is required, but this session can help you identify ways to save money in your home, learning about heat pumps, and programs like HEAP and Community Solar that allow you to save some money on your bills. So that is from 6 to 7:30. And that is all from me today.
All right. And Mayor, your report?
Just very briefly, as you can see, I'm remote. I happen to enjoy the holidays in Detroit, which is where my immigrant parents immigrated to after World War II. In fact, my father's village, I think, has more people in the Detroit area than are in the village anymore, which is just an example of chain immigration. Other than that, it's nice to be here by remote, and thank you for sharing, Pam.
Thank you. And our city administrator?
So I would like to also thank the firefighters for installing the lights across the street. That was purchased by the union, IAFF, and installed during one of their shifts on Friday. So thank you. We are expecting 3 to 6 inches of snow, depending on where you look, and I would just remind people that we do have a parking regulation that vehicles cannot be parked on public streets between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. or obstruct city snowplows from clearing the streets. Once it starts snowing, if you can move your cars into our public parking lots till the streets are cleared, that would be great, and then within 24 hours, please take them out of the lots so we can similarly clear the lots. Also, if you have sidewalks by your property, you do have a duty to clear the snow and ice on all sidewalks starting 24 hours after the cessation of the snowfall. And please don't throw that right back into the road. It makes it unsafe for motorists, bicyclists, and it's also a violation of city code. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Now on to local laws and resolutions.
I think our mayor did share, but you're fine, you're good. No, you're good, you're good, that was me.
Now, do I need a motion now to
Good.
discuss
Yes,
it?
a motion to discuss. You want to say what it is, though, first?
Oh,
Don't we need a motion to adopt and then we discuss?
Yeah.
Correct. Introduce the resolution and then you can discuss it.
okay. So a motion to adopt the local law number 13 of the 2025 concerning the transit station district. Do I have a motion to adopt?
Motion?
And a second?
Second?
Okay. And we just have it open, so we don't, okay, so now we can have discussion.
Yeah, I was just looking for clarity on that detail about the trail language being included. I do recall the mayor speaking to some degree of depth about the fact that some things were included, just a generality about the description versus detailed descriptions of the trails.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's right. Yeah, I did a read of the original zoning and also of the master plan that is for that trail. And it was interesting to hear from Thomas why the feasibility study put it up on the hillside. And it made sense to me that it did because there was existing parking on the lot. And I think he added that not only was there existing parking, but Metro North was worried about preserving that parking. Now that the proposal, to remove the parking is on the table, one needs to kind of rethink the details of that study and the details of the master plan. And in particular, the other part that's contradictory is that the zoning itself that we adopted for that district assumes that the pedestrian and vehicle and bike access is adjacent to the train tracks. And that's largely because that there has to be a buffer. You can't have any construction within so many feet of the tracks. So our zoning says it needs to be next to the tracks. The proposal I think we're going to see next year will put it next to the tracks. But the master plan and the details of the feasibility study for the trail was assuming it would be on the mountainside. So what we did, and Nick did this in designing the language, was they made it was a general reference to it as opposed to a specific one. A specific one would be referring to the layout that's incorrect in the study. So I would suggest we have two options. One is leave it as is, the general reference, because it says there has to be a bike lane. It's going to be on the west side by the tracks, which is consistent with our zoning. If we want to reference the study itself, we have to alter the master plan for the trail, right? Because the master plan for the trail says something different. So those are the two options. Nick put it up this way because it was just easier. If you want it the other way, it would take some doing. I would suggest that we adopt this version now, and if we want to adjust it later, that's easily done. But I think we should get our zoning done for this district.
Yeah, I think actually
I'm sorry, just one more thing. Nick, did I do that right? I think I did.
No, that was correct, Mayor. I would just point out that the language we have drafted says it should be, so it's not shall, it should be, because you have to take into consideration the planning. So this language actually gives flexibility to the approval agency as to the location of that trail, to take into account MTA regulations, site constraints, and what is the best design. I think this gives the planning board more flexibility, and there's opportunity for public comment and the Greenway Trail Committee to comment on this as it goes through the process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my understanding and read of the language that you drafted, Nick, I think it does inherently address the concern that you laid out, Lee, in it stating that the planning board shall consider the design concepts, but not the location concepts of the city's trail planning documents. So not sure that it is counter to the conflict that you mentioned to include the name of some of those trail planning documents. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, if Nick's okay with that, I'm fine. We were just trying to figure out how to square not disagreement, just the different location of the trail in the study versus the zoning versus what's being proposed and what has to get done. So.
And I think we're trying to strike the balance because the reality is that document exists. It's going to be used, relied upon as people see appropriate to make the contentions they wish to do so. And I think we want to preserve a flexibility rather than putting it in here and having an unintended consequence where someone says, aha, on page 23 of the study it says this, and we haven't examined that report to make sure it's entirely consistent with what the intent is. So that's why I didn't reference the specific document and was more general.
Yeah, I mean, I think my understanding of the reasoning for putting in reference to the city's trail planning documents was in part to recognize the fact that the city's already put in significant resources towards the planning of these trails and not wanting for those resources to go to waste. But I also hear what you're saying, Nick, that because that work has been put in, it's highly unlikely that a developer would just ignore all of that.
Planning board, the committee of the public, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm of a mind to keep it as it is because the document has elements that actually are currently not the version of what we want, and so it seems that keyword of flexibility that we can both, I just feel like at this moment I trust that we have the ability to reference what we want to in that document from the language in the zoning and also not be tied to things that don't actually serve the vision that we have now and sounds like wasn't feasible, at least from MTA's perspective, back when that document, that process was gone through. So I feel like this wording that we currently have threads that needle. I'm curious, Nick, about the second, and Lee too, about the second point that was brought up by the commenter about specifically referencing other trails that also will connect or are designed to connect with the train station, if not directly with the Greenway. Do you see any value in adding that in, or do you feel sort of similarly that that might tie us to things or create some unintended barriers that we're not thinking of? Or it's just simply we don't need it to make that happen?
Drafting it, that was my view, that we didn't need that language. It wasn't necessary. The planning board has the ability to do so, as does the applicant. And the trail should be a trail that leads somewhere. I, again, didn't think we wanted to be so specific in describing what needs to be done, because maybe there would be alternate trails in the future. So a trail should be designed to be continuous and connect.
Should it have the words, though, extending from the town of Fishkill border and mention the bridge, so that it shows at least the intent that we want a trail that connects to the bridge, not just the town of Fishkill border?
Well, it turns out the Greenway Master Plan does reference the connection to the bridge along Beekman and Route 90. The master plan itself of the Greenway Trail does that.
I like the idea, though, of making the intent clear, even if, you know, there are other documents that sort of supersede the sort of, I guess, necessity of it. You know, there are a number of edits that have been made throughout the law to more explicitly state that we're interested in non-vehicular, supporting non-vehicular transportation. And I think it would be sort of in the spirit of the law as I imagine it, to mention the connection to the bridge, if others agree.
I agree.
As do I.
I would only suggest, if we're going to make that reference, that we refer to other trails, and in particular the Beacon Rail Trail and the connection at Bar State.
I think that's fine with me, and as Nick was saying, just not say exclusively those trails in case new trails pop up.
Yep.
And it's also got to be written in a way that it's not all the trails you're connecting to, but that you're providing for, that the board is taking into consideration which trails to connect to and how to achieve those connections.
Sure.
So, Nick, any issue with just making references without trying to, you know, add verbs that require stuff, right?
Yes, I can work with what the council wants and insert that language in.
Okay, that'd be great. Is that good with everyone?
So are we making an amendment tonight to the language, or is this now coming back in for another workshop?
I would suggest you can adopt it tonight, and there just be a resolution to amend subsection 10 on page 15 to make reference to the other trail systems located within the city to be drafted by the city attorney consistent with the council's discussion.
Motion.
Okay with
And
that.
the bridge?
That's in the trail system.
That's in the trail system.
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to acknowledge the
I'm sorry, there
other,
was a motion, but no second.
There's a motion on the table.
oh, sorry,
Yeah.
yes.
Second.
Amber second. Paloma
Then there'd be-
first, Amber second.
But then any
For the
discussion and a
amendment,
vote.
For motion to adopt the amendments as discussed in section 10 to make explicit reference to trails within the city, including connection to the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, to be drafted by our city attorney.
Okay, so is that the motion again, or is that?
That's the same motion
Same
that
motion just
Amber
described.
seconded.
Yeah.
And
Amber
now,
seconded.
let's vote.
So we can vote on it now.
All those in favor of the amendment as discussed?
Aye.
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 Aye. And Amber, you said aye again? Okay.
I said
All
aye.
right. All right, so that amendment has passed.
Thank you for the point of order, Chris. The thing that I also wanted to say was just to acknowledge the other speaker and comments, particularly when it comes to concerns around traffic and looking at how the addition of housing and all of these trails will affect this area. I do believe that the amendments that we've made, particularly the ones that the planning board suggested around making more explicit our requirements for ingress and egress and parking circulation and other circulation of cyclists and pedestrians, I am hoping we'll address those concerns when it comes to the actual design of this area.
Thank you, Paloma. I had just a few kind of just little, just like words that needed to be changed, but I didn't send the information. On page 8, it calls it the Local Waterfront Redevelopment Program, which it's the revitalization.
Okay, I'm making note of your comments, your edits.
Okay. Do you want me to send a note with my edits, or just say them now? Everything? Because there was a couple more.
Yep, so if there are typographical corrections, that's fine, you can send them to me. And my opinion is the council doesn't need to vote on it because it's not changing the context, so I leave that to you as to the substance of it.
Okay. Well, on page 15, let me just, I know there was a reference to the bikes, but there was a paragraph above that I felt like needed, and on page 15 in section 9, it says for vehicles and/or pedestrians shall be determined, and I'm wondering if bikes should be added in there. It's the third line down on 9, to kind of just go with adding the bicycle.
Look, we do call out pedestrian and bicycle elsewhere, so I see no issue with adding bicycle there if that's appropriate, right?
I'll make a motion to amend if that's needed.
Second?
Okay. We should wait to hear if Pam's got any other edits, or leave it to Nick if they're considered typographical.
Yeah, there was another one.
Yeah, so let's get through Pam's comments.
I have to look back at that one because I wrote page 1611A, but I'm not. Oh, maybe it should, bikes should be referenced in there too. Obstruction, they shall be coordinated with the public street system serving the project in order to avoid conflicts with through traffic or obstruction to the pedestrian walks. So I'm wondering again if bicycles should be added there also.
What page are you on?
This is on page 16 on 11A on 1.
Yep.
It's like right at the end.
I don't see an issue adding that also.
Okay. And then on page 17, it referenced chapter 123 of this code, and I was wondering if it's that correct? Number 13.
I'm sorry, I was writing down number 13 on which page? I see that. I will double check it and correct it if it's not correct.
Okay, and then just one other thing. On page 19 in section 11, when it talked about right on the second line, site development plan approval, I thought we scratched development. Or is that something different?
No, I think you're correct, so we'll make that. Well, that's currently how the chapter is actually titled, so we haven't changed the title of the chapter, that's correct.
Okay. That's all I had.
You're giving Molly a run for her money.
I know.
On the detailed read.
Motion to make amendments.
Do we need a motion for any of that, or is it typographical?
To add in those references to bicycles?
Okay, motion.
Second. Oh,
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh,
Aye.
Okay, I heard everybody. All right, thank you. So now we have on the table, we have the amendments. Do I have a motion to approve, to adopt the local law?
You don't need another motion. You can
Oh,
just,
it's already over.
you've
Question.
amended the motion, and you can just vote on the
Just vote.
underlying motion.
Do we want more discussion, or do you feel comfortable to vote?
I'm ready to vote.
Ready to vote? Okay. All right, we'll take a vote. Can this just be, everybody say yes, or is this individually?
It's not a roll call, you can do an all in favor.
Okay. All in favor of adopting local law number 13 of the 2025 concerning the transit station district? All in favor, say aye.
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 And there are, everybody said aye, so there is no noes or abstain. It has been adopted. So now we move on to approval of the minutes for November 17th. I'll take a motion, oh wait, a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
And
Second? Sorry.
second, okay. All those in favor of
You don't want to know if I have any edits? I mean,
Oh,
I
I'm
don't.
sorry, do you
but-
have any edits? I guess because I
No.
already looked. I was ahead of you.
I do not have any edits or other discussion.
I do want to maybe take a moment to address the other public comment question that we had, since it's in reference to a motion that we made in these minutes. That my understanding of the money that was set aside, the $100,000 for city council initiatives, it will be up to the next city council to make final sort of decisions or proposals on how to spend that money. And that there is a clear indication from this current council that the intent is to be used on a bicycle master plan, assuming that the matching grant there's capacity to apply for it and that it's approved, but that will be a conversation for the following council and also a conversation with the mayor and city administrator on capacity and final spend of those dollars.
And I'll add to that, either in office hours, as kind of mentioned earlier, just you're welcome to reach out to us collectively or individually if you have specific thoughts, as kind of were referenced in the comment today, that we can certainly be your advocates in talking with the mayor and city administrator and kind of working with them on what's actually feasible and possible starting in 2026.
Thank you. All right, so now we didn't vote.
Ready to vote.
We're ready to vote for approving the minutes of November 17th, 2025. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, the minutes have been approved. This is your second opportunity for public comment. If you have not spoken during public comment, you can speak again for up to 3 minutes. Anybody in the audience? No? Anybody online?
No, none online.
All right. Just announcing the next workshop meeting is next Monday, December 8th at 7 p.m. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. That is Molly and Jeff, and all those in favor, say aye.
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 Lee?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nick.
Good night.
Amber.
Good night.
Night.
Recording